Yeah, so we'll run through the week 12 real quick and then run through the general trends so that we can start talking about the games, because I am more excited about this slate. I think there's a lot of weird favorites that I don't think are necessarily going to continue to cash, and the public might be seeing things wrong this week too. So public went 10-6. Like I said, a very good week for them. Public on the over 6-3. Public on the under 4-3. So really good across the board for the general betting public betting on Thanksgiving, which is not crazy to see, as we've already said. Money percentage went 9-7, sharp differential 7-9. Money percentage on the over 5-2, sharp differential on the over 3-1. So really good over week. Obviously, I think it was 9 games to the over and 7 games to the under. And then looking at money percentage on the under 5-4, sharp differentially under 6-6. The interesting things there, I think, mainly is the public, because the public's been doing so well all year. However, the difference that, we saw one of their worst weeks happen in week 11 where they went 5-8, and now they bounced back to 10-6. I still think that they're going to, continue to trend downward. And, the Thanksgiving is kind of one of those anomaly weeks where it's historically proven that the public does better on Thanksgiving and then subsequently that week. So I think they're going to continue to hit a downturn, and we're going to see some sort of bounce back from the money in sharps, which we started to see before Thanksgiving. And now it's kind of like, will it still happen? What do you think?
Yeah, because the public did so well, does that prove that we are sharps?
That's what I have to assume is, I go 2-8, the public does well. I am a pro sharp better. It's just that simple.
Yeah. My $20 unit says so. No, I couldn't wait to ask you that, but I think that we talked about it and hinted to it in the weeks prior that a reckoning was coming for the public. And then we kind of got all excited because it came, and then the public surged again, which they have historically done. So I think that was a bit of a miss on our side. But I still am going to beat the drum that I do think that it's going to come back down to earth, whether that's this week or next week. It will be one of the next 2 or 3 weeks that it's just going to be a huge public losing one, because it has to come back down to average, in my opinion. Like that is what history tells us. That is what the stats tell us. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I think collectively over the next several weeks, you're going to see them go 50%, probably a few of them. Majorly, they're going to be negative. Especially looking at like totals and stuff too, it's fun to see. But let me say these general trends, and then we can kind of talk about it a little bit more. So public through 2023 week 12 is now 96-78 ATS, money 90-84, and then sharp differential all ATS 87-87. So that's obviously a 55% win percentage for the public, 52% win percentage for the money, and 50% sharp differential, all ATS for those metrics. And let's chat about that for a little bit, Andy, because clearly it's weird for us to see that the public's on top when it comes to the sharp differential and then the money on sides. However, there's a few interesting nuances that I've seen is really across the board, all ranges for the public. You kind of expect, even if the public is doing well generally, you'd say, oh, a random person that doesn't follow it like us or any other listener would say that, the higher public games, when you see the percentage of tickets 65 plus is going to be their worst range. That's actually a positive range by 4 games. It's 5 games over 500 above that range. You're seeing a 10 game or 15 game above 500 range if you drop it to 60% or higher. So it's really doing well across all ranges. And I think that's so interesting. And whether it's like the year that we're having, the year that the public's having, the year that just favorites in general are having, or what. But I just find that so fascinating. And one of the reasons that, it makes it exciting for us to talk about here on Sharpen the Public.
I think it's surprising that the public is doing so well in these ranges, because historically they haven't. So again, like I said before, I really feel like the public is going to regress, and that's not, because it's not normal. We are going to see that come back down to earth.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, especially like when you corroborate it with everything else that's going on, and the money only 6 games above 500 through the year, and then the sharp differential 50%, right? So anytime you see the money on a side, the public can also be on that side, but the money on a side, it's doing worse. And the general consensus of betting and just the industry is, there's pros versus Joes, the money versus the public. And to see the public do better this year, and significantly better, especially when, you look at those higher ranges when people should be fading the public because, that's the narrative. It's just, it just makes it so much more apparent to why adding context to the numbers that you see on public betting data sites is so important. And one of the reasons I love what we do. I talked about it this week on the Tuesday podcast, but what was interesting for me, I don't know if there's much to derive from it, but the most consistent range for the money percentage, it was not consistent as in good, but bet the most is when the money is 75% or greater. That has significantly higher like amounts of bets or amount of games where that's happened versus the other ranges. So I don't know if you'll have anything there, but what do you think that is? Like, why is the money just like, are people just so confident on one side that when they're confident they just fucking go for it and then that is what it is? Or I don't know. It's just weird to me to see that. It's not by a lot, but still interesting.
Yeah, I don't really have a takeaway on that because it's not something I'm used to seeing, to be honest with you. So I'm not entirely sure.
Fair enough. On the other side, it's like it's completely converse. Like if you look at the sharp differential, there's so much fewer bets when it gets to like that 30 plus range, but then lower where they're actually really good, that 0 to 4% range, it's significantly more. But looking towards the sharp differential, 87 and 87, I've already said that. The best range is 10 to 14%, it's 24 and 8. But then really bad across every other range, aside from that 0 to 4% sharp differential range, where it's 26 to 19 ATS. So it's like, what can we gather from that? There's two specific ranges that are relatively good, but that the rest of it has just sucked. Like, why is this year there's such a difference when there's a different amount of money? When is Vegas just be like, hey, we need to make money this year and we're kicking it up a notch? Obviously, they can't do that because outcomes of games likely are not defined by what books say, but it's just so weird to see such a difference between this year and this next year, unless you think it's rigged.
Yeah, no, I don't think that. I think it's far from that. But the fact that somebody could think that you could orchestrate an acting job between 22 collective players on a field is absolute blasphemy and an insult
in every
to
single
the
game,
athletes.
in every single week.
Yeah, and every single week. There's so many factors. So I think there are teams that will actively try to tank, but even in the NFL, it's not as apparent as it is in the NBA and other leagues. I think it's even harder in the NFL because you have so many players in the field and so many potential outcomes. But no, I mean, I think with this data, it's more peculiar than what we saw last year and what we've seen in years past, but it just means we have to adapt and we have to look at the trends that are profitable. And that's what like I've been trying to do, especially with some of the totals where I'm looking for, I'm looking a lot to some of the trends that are related to the unders. I'm looking towards, because the unders have been cooking this year, so find trends that indicate that it's going to be even more consistent than just tailing unders because the unders are hitting at a historic rate. Looking at what sharp differentials on spreads are actually profitable. Like that's the stuff when you say that I take note of. I'm not necessarily looking at the macro picture here of like, why this, why that with money and sharp. So to answer your question, that's what I kind of have been able to take advantage of the last 2 weeks, where some of the bets that I have won that I've tweeted out are based on those more specific, more niche trends that you've been able to derive.
Yeah, I think adaptation's the name of the game, because one thing that I talked about on Tuesday was how for the sharp differential specifically, they fucking killed it in the beginning of the year last year, but then they tailed off at the second half of the year. We saw the Geico trend start 19-2. And then, it's ended well, but it started so hot is why it finished well, too. And then you look to this year, I think because they had such a shitty beginning to the year, that they have to they can't stay shitty the whole year. They weren't good all year last year. They kind of tailed off. So now it's going to kind of be the reverse thing. Same thing with the money. The money last year did significantly better in the second half of the year. And I don't want to go back and look at it, but I think it was like 10-6 and 11-5 all the throughout the rest of the weeks 13 plus. So I think we're really going to see some sort of change from what's happened, and that kind of brings me back to the point of why we started this whole discussion for just the public today. Is like there has to be a changing of the guard with just regression to the mean. It's not like we can say that the general betting public is getting worse, but as they gain more knowledge, maybe they see things differently, or at the end of the day, like the NFL and betting sports in general is a numbers game. It's not Vegas's job. The book's job is to make sure that most things just end up being even, because that's how they profit when they make money on the juice and stuff. Yes, over time they will choose sides on certain games. Like one we'll talk about is probably the Eagles Niners. I'm sure they're going to have a side on that one because it's going to be so heavily bet. But aside from that, they just want to make money on the juice. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's why it's adding context to these numbers is so important.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
Let's run through the totals here so we can start talking about the game. So public on the over 42 and 56 throughout the year, public on the under 46 and 29. Two major trends there is the 9 and 19 for the public on the over above 70%, and then public on the under below 55%, which I've said multiple times throughout the year. 19 and 9 for that. Money percentage on the under 63 and 45, sharp differential on the under 83 and 54. Two very, very good records. Money percentage on the over 28 and 39, sharp differential on the over 18 and 19. I know it's a lot of numbers, Andy. Anything quickly before we start talking about
I want you to say
games?
the money percentage and sharp percentage on the under slower so everyone can understand how much these are cooking.
63 and 45 for the money percentage on the under, which is a 58% win percentage, and then sharp differential on the other 83 and 54, which is a 61% sharp differential.
That's like
strictly
you just
looking at
glossed over that, and I'm like, yeah, that is what the record is. It is insane, and all you have to do on Sunday is find totals that you like, and then go over to the public money and sharp data and see if there's a sharp on it. That's all you have to do, and it's hitting at a 61% rate. So, like, that is, like, some of the stuff that I've been doing. Like, obviously, I'm looking at more specific ranges, like more of the profitable ones that you've listed off that we haven't named like we did last year. So it's a little bit harder to reference them. But I do think that when you can listen to some of these more specific ones, that it is even more profitable than just taking unders and hitting at a 61% rate, which is already insane amounts of profit.
Well, here you go. So your favorite sharp differential trend is the 5 to 19% sharp differential. Between that range,
yes,
is 48 and 23. Okay, throughout the year, it's actually doing well on the over too. We'll stick to the under. 5 to 19%. Andy, what are the first numbers first players that come to your mind when you think of 5 and 19? For me, 5 is Donovan McNabb because I'm an Eagles fan. But like, who the fuck is 19?
Deebo Samuel.
Donovan and Deebo.
The Donovan Deebo. The double D trend.
The double D trend. Look at that. Look at us just come up with that right then and there. Absolutely beautiful. All right, the double D trend. 48 and 23. 68% win percentage, by the way.
68,
follow the double Ds. All you got to do is follow the double Ds.
All you got to do is follow the double Ds and you'll get close to a 69. All right, what do we have next?
Oh, my God. All right, moving on. Let's go to the games. Let's start with Chargers.
Another one we can name? Am I being canceled now? All right, it's fine. DJ, any words of wisdom to the crowd before we depart?
Absolutely. Appreciate all your guys' support as always. Keep checking out the channel on YouTube. Just got my Spotify Wrapped for the podcast. I'm excited to post some stuff on that. So check that out on my Twitter at DJJ Sports. Sincerely appreciate all the love despite a bad week from me. Happy to keep giving out trends. Happy to talk about football. It's always so much fun. Love you guys. Love the support. Again, check us out on YouTube.
Well, cheers, dude. I think this is going to be an awesome slate. I can't wait to watch it. We will definitely be sending you pictures as well as tweeting out pictures from Lambeau Field. Super excited for this weekend. And be on the lookout for DJ's article that always comes out on Sunday. It is a banger. It's a classic. Reddit begs him for it every single week. And look out for some plays from me as I tweet them out at AndyHA Sports on Twitter. Make sure to give Deej a follow. The creator, the wizard himself behind Sharpen the Public at DJJ Sports. Guys, we love you. Happy we can do this.
Love the subscribers. Love the comments. Appreciate it all. As always, we'll be with you next time. Hopefully, we win some bets this week.
With some winners. It's a bounce back week, baby. Week 13. 13 is my lucky number. Let's go. The boys bet better with beer.